Hey, what's going on, YouTube fam? I know it's been a minute, but I'm back. Jersey Frenchies is back in the house, and it's been a very busy time. It's not like it's stopped in the background. I've been continuing to be breeding, and now I wanted to bring you my brand new two litters that I have. I have a litter of 7 puppies that will be 2 weeks old. Excuse me, 2 weeks old on Monday, and I have my litter that will turn one today. Litter on today, they'll be 1 week old today. Um, I know it looks messy and dirty, but I wanted to bring you guys behind the scenes. Usually, people once they go, they turn that on button for the camera. They've already shown you the clean, neat side of whelping and breeding. I thought I'd come and bring you for the raw truth of what it looks like behind the scenes. Um, This is usually what it look. No, not saying usually. This is what it looks like first thing in the morning after, a full night's rest for the puppies and moms. I don't like to disturb them in the middle of the night to clean. So last time I cleaned was probably about 10, 11 o'clock last night, and this is what it looks like after a couple hours of them sleeping. Now I just sent the mamas downstairs so they could stretch their legs and for breakfast, and I thought I'd come and bring you guys along to see what it looks like. Now this is whelping is a 24-hour, 7 days a week job. You got to constantly be cleaning because look what happens after just a couple of hours. Right? Imagine if you were only going to be cleaning once a day, this is going to be filthy, and you don't want your pups to always be laying in dirtiness. But I thought I'd come and bring you along of what it actually takes. And then, so I'm going to show you my whole process, and then you're actually going to be, if you want to contemplate doing this, I do this about every 4 hours. So a good 4 or 5 times a day, I'm constantly cleaning. I just want to turn my chat on. Hold on one sec. There we go. All right. All right. I'm gonna put my phone up here so I can just monitor the chat. And this is my lifesaver. This is my travel incubator. When I brought the puppies home, because remember, I have French bulldogs. Mamas need a C-section, so you need something safe to bring the puppies home in. This is my travel incubator. It keeps them safe. It's heated, keeps them warm. And then this is also what I use to put them in while I'm cleaning their areas. Let me introduce the pups. Now these guys, like I said, will be 2 weeks old on Monday. Their eyes have already opened, and look how big they are. Chunky little monsters. I'm going to put them in here. Now these guys I have beautiful Merle, short hair, and fluffies. How pretty are these two girls? And I have a black puppy and a blue puppy in this litter. Mama Luna blessed us with 7 puppies, 5 females, 2 males. This is a little beautiful fawn sable with a mask puppy. Let me get through here to grab the rest. Got another Merle. I call her Two-Face because, half her face is black and the other side is just her fawn color. This is my black male. This is Goliath. Look how big he is. He's the biggest of the litter. He's gorgeous. And one more puppy. Oh, come here. And then this is my blue puppy. Blue male. And look, he's already got poop on him. Oh, okay. So, puppies are born blind and deaf. They don't open their eyes for till about 10 days. These guys have already opened their eyes. And they also can't pee or poop on their own for about the first 2 weeks, give or take. Right? So you got to stimulate them to go to the bathroom. Either mom does or I do. They can't go on their own. But this guy, you know, oh, he's peeing everywhere. Hold on. Hold on. I usually put a pad down, but he started going. He already had, when I picked him up, he already clearly had pee and poop on him. So thought I'd do that first. But yeah, I usually put a mat down because this is what happens. You stimulate them to do one thing and they'll do everything. But I wanted to show you guys the difference. Let me just change my gloves. Hold on. Now it's really important to always keep yourself as clean as possible, because the more you keep yourself clean with changing out your gloves and stuff like that, the more you keep them healthy. Remember, they're newborn pups. They're susceptible to a lot of things, you know, any diseases, and they catch it quickly because they have no defense system. So keeping yourself clean, changing gloves out constantly, you know, helps your litter. Also, keeping the whelping boxes clean constantly is going to help them. But I wanted to show you the difference between the two puppies, because I'm pretty sure you guys are probably going to say that that last puppy I showed you was black. And the only way to really tell that he's not is putting them side by side. So, here we go. Gotta clean these guys. All right. Let me show you. Hold on. Oh, great. You got more poop. Hold on. Hold on. We're still on poop duty. He wants some more. Okay. He wasn't done. Clearly, that's what he's trying to tell me. All right. All right. I think we're done now, hopefully. All right, let me grab that black puppy again so I can show you guys. Then you'll see the difference. Can you guys see that? You see? This is Mr. Blue and this is Mr. Black. When you put them side by side, then you could tell the difference, right? What do you guys think? He's clearly jet black. And in the light, you could see some form of brown on him. That's from the dilute gene, so he ends up being blue. You see? These are my only two boys, by the way, in this litter. The rest are all girls. All right. So while they're safe in there, then I get to work in here. So I buy big, huge alcohol wipes. That's usually what I use to clean. I don't like anything that is going to have strong odor, you know, because the puppies and mom are in there. You don't want them to be inhaling all these chemicals. So I buy alcohol wipes, and then I just start cleaning. They stay in the incubators, nice and safe, and I just start cleaning absolutely everything. Like I said, I do this about 4 or 5 times a day because, like I said, just from overnight, look how these two got. Imagine if you left it any longer. Like I said, you know, people usually show you behind the scenes, but I mean, no, I'm sorry. People usually show you the already nice and clean aesthetic, tidy looking versions. I thought I'd come and actually show you what it is for, you know, like a morning routine, what it is really like, especially with 13 pups. I have 2 litters. First litter was a litter of 7, which is the guys I just showed you. And the one in the other whelping box is a litter of 6. So I have 13 pups right now, guys. You know, if you don't keep on top of cleaning, it's going to get dirty, and it's going to get dirty fast. So if you clean as you go throughout the day, it just makes it a little easier. It's less cleaning to do if you leave it all for the end. And plus, you don't want your puppies to be laying in filth all day long. That's not healthy for them. You know, that's not the way I do my program. Okay. So I put that to the side. I let that dry. And I just start cleaning absolutely everything. The only bad thing about alcohol wipes is that they dry out really fast. So you just gotta go through them a lot. But like I said, it's the product that I like to use the most because it doesn't leave an odor. You know, it dries rather faster, but it's odorless. It's just the alcohol smell that's not going to hurt the dogs versus like other chemicals. You don't want your pups breathing that in all the time, you know? Okay. Like I said, the mamas I already sent downstairs. I am blessed that I have really good mamas that want to be with their babies 24/7, and that's not always the case. Sometimes some mamas don't want to be with their babies, and you kind of have to, you know, remind them that they have to feed their babies. But mine are the opposite. They don't ever want to leave their whelping boxes or leave their babies. So I have to kind of make sure that they go outside, stretch their legs, get some food, go to the bathroom, because if not, they'll just stay in the box the whole time. And if they're in the box the whole time, these puppies are going to want to feed off of them 24/7. And then, you know, that's when their teeth get really sore and raw and stuff like that. So I like to give them a break. And then that way the puppies don't overfeed themselves either. Because that happens also. They don't have, if mom is in the whelping box, they don't have a stop button. They just continuously feed all the time. And then they overfeed. It comes out their nose. That can cause aspiration. So, you know, you got to give your moms breaks sometimes. So that's what they're doing right now. They don't have to be on mom duty 24/7. You know, but then I clean the whole box. Make sure it's clean. Then once I'm done here, I will, you know, and I've put the whelping box all back together. Then I'll let moms up to feed. And then, now I like to use, I like to use these pads. I just find that it's so much easier and cleaner for my whelping boxes. I know everybody does things differently. Some people use like sheets or blankets and stuff like that, but I find that gets so dirty. You know, even though moms had C-sections, they still bleed, you know, after their C-sections from, now not from the incision, but like a woman after she's given birth, she's bleeding, right? That's why women wear pads for a couple of weeks, because they still have the bleeding, the discharge from the uterus. Same thing with my female mothers, or my mothers, I should say, really, right? Same thing. They're going to have a ton of discharge coming out for a couple weeks, and that's normal, right? But then that gets all over the whelping box, that gets everywhere. So all that needs to be cleaned. And then, like I said, this litter is about to be 2 weeks old. So they're kind of starting to slightly go to the bathroom on their own. You know, here and there, they'll pee and poop. So it's just, you know, if you keep if you keep blankets in here, then that's going to be constantly wet and dirty, and then you have the puppies laying on that. I find, for me at least, for my program, these puppy pads, disposable puppy pads, are so much easier. You know, you saw, I took them off real quick. I do tape them down so that way the puppies can't go underneath, but I take them off, you know, put new ones, tape it down, and the pups are ready to go. It's just, it keeps, to me, it keeps everything a lot cleaner. I don't know if you guys think the same, but that's my opinion. Hey, welcome in. If you just came in, thanks for tuning in. I thought I'd bring you behind the scenes of raw footage of what it's really like to raise 13 newborn Frenchie puppies. Most people usually show you already their clean setup after they've cleaned the whole whelping boxes and show you the clean side. I thought I'd come and show you the real version of how things usually look. Now this is like, I already took this one out, but this one to my left, this is what it looks like after a night's rest. You know, the last time I cleaned it, like I was saying before, was 10, 11 o'clock, something like that. And I let mom and pups sleep all night, and now it was time to clean. This is just from like 10 hours or so, 12 hours or so of them being in it. And like I said, I don't usually disturb mom and pups and the pups overnight, so that's why it looks like that. But during the day, I'm on top of this. I'm doing this every, 3-4 hours. I'm doing this at least 4 or 5 times a day, that I'm cleaning with alcohol to get all the, because mom's going to be bleeding, so there's going to be, little spots of blood in there. The pups will pee or poop a little bit here and there, or while she's cleaning them, because mom stimulates them to go to the bathroom. She stimulates them. The pee still goes on the pads. The poop still goes on the pads, right? You don't want your puppies laying in that. So this is the real raw version of what things look like. Everybody thinks that raising puppies is so easy. No, there's so much that goes into it. It really is. So I thought I would bring you for a little behind so you can get a real taste of what it's like. So then I get new pads. I think they're getting a little too big already for that box. So I'll put new pads down. And then I'm very, I'm very careful always with my dogs. No outside shoes are allowed in the house, so that way you can't track any diseases into the house via shoes. Because parvo and coccidia is a real thing, especially at this age. You can bring that in on your outside shoes. I track it up here. I get my puppy sick. That's it, right? Because if I bring my shoes up here and I'm walking around the floor, their mamas are walking around the floor. They pick it up. They bring it into their whelping boxes. That's it. Coccidia and parvo will kill an entire litter. So no outside shoes are allowed in the house. I have my in-house slippers that I never wear outside. And if you see, before I go in the whelping boxes, regardless, I take off my shoes. I always make sure, to keep my puppies as safe as possible. If I'm bringing in these babies in the world, I'm going to do absolutely everything in my power to make sure that these guys are happy, safe, and healthy. Now I just cut. So if you notice, the pads are smaller than my whelping boxes. So I kind of just cut them in half to put along the sides that are missing the pads, right? And then I'm going to tape it down. Then I'm going to weigh the puppies, clean them up a little bit from overnight. And then I will let that mom back in so she can feed her puppies, and then I'll get to the other box with the other puppies. Something like that. I'm gonna put it on this side. I know, babies, I know. Mm-hmm. Something like that. Now I'm just gonna tape it down. I always keep my tape handy on the side of the boxes. And like I said, I tape it down so that the puppies can't go underneath the pads and potentially suffocate, or if they can suffocate, or if mom doesn't see them, she could actually end up stepping on them. So I tape them down so that they can't go underneath them. That's also another reason why I don't use blankets, because mom's going to kind of dig them up, move them around, and puppies can get under there and get trapped also. Like I said, everybody has... Right. I'm gonna take these off. It's hard to put the tape with gloves. I'll put back on new ones afterwards. Like I said, everybody has their own way of doing things. This is just my setup, what I think is the easiest for me and safest for my pups. But if anybody else has any suggestions of how they do things, I'm definitely all ears open. You know, if you guys have any tips, tricks, that'd be awesome. And I'll also give you my tips and tricks, you know? Hold on. I usually do this from within the whelping box, but I want you guys to see, so I'm trying to do it from the side, and from the side is a lot harder. Maybe smaller pieces. So work with smaller pieces. There we go. You know, and then I will kind of overlap tape, make sure there are no gaps, because these little ones will figure out how to find those little gaps and squirm and get in between those little gaps and get underneath these pads. And then mama's going frantic looking for her baby, and then she'll destroy your whole setup instantly. So a happy mama is always the way you want, you know, the way to go. Let's see. I want this one. This one. All right. All right. So yeah, I thought I'd do a little bit of a different live today. I know it's been a while, but I thought I'd show you this side of whelping, because like I said, a lot of people think it's easy. You guys you have no clue how many people reach out to me for advice to help them. How do I put this? To help them raise their litter, but they've done absolutely no research, and that breaks my heart, because there's a ton, an absolute, with this day and age in technology and YouTube, there's no reason why, if someone wants to get into breeding French bulldogs, that they have no clue what they're doing. There's a ton of information out there of how to do absolutely everything. So for people to tell me that they have no clue what they're doing, which is understandable that they have no clue what they're doing, but they should have done the research before the puppies got here. You know, I get people that reach out to me constantly panicking because their litter is about to get here and they don't know what to do. Where should they take them? Do they actually need a C-section? Can they do it naturally? I mean, can a French bulldog deliver naturally? Sure, in a rare occasion, but why would you risk that? Why would you risk that not knowing what's going to happen? French bulldogs, their hips are very narrow and the puppies' heads are really big. You have more than a 90-something% chance of their puppies getting stuck in the birth canal. And once that one puppy gets stuck, now you risk the whole litter. Because if he gets stuck, him and all the puppies behind him are going to most likely pass away if you don't get to a vet in time for that C-section, right? And you have the risk of losing mom too. So why would you take that chance? You should do your research of where you're going to take your dogs for, to have everything ready for a C-section. Why would you risk that? That's number one. Or I get people that reach out to me after the litter is here and their pups are dying and they're panicking because they don't know what to do. Again, raising French bulldogs is not easy, and it's not for everybody. Everybody thinks it's easy until they go to do it, and then they realize that it's not. But the research is there. You guys can do it. You just have, like I said, you just have to be really informed, right? They reach out to me saying their moms don't want to feed their puppies. What do I do? Or the puppies aren't eating. What do I do? They're aspirating. What do I do? And I'm like, well, then I go down the line of telling them you're probably going to have to tube feed them. They have no clue how to tube feed. They don't know how to tube feed. They're aspirating. What do I do? Well, you should have suction on hand, and people don't have any of that on hand, and I find that wild. How do you go and try and raise a litter without having at least the essentials on hand of how to raise a litter? Like I said, you guys can do it. It's not as difficult as it's not incredibly difficult, but it's not as easy as, let's say, other breeds, like bigger breeds. Before I got into French bulldogs, I was breeding American red-nosed pit bulls. Now that's an easy litter to breed because moms do everything on their own. They give birth on their own. They know what to do. They raise their kids. They're not as delicate as French bulldogs. So yeah, that's a breed that you don't really need to know what you're doing and you just wing it. But French bulldogs, that's a whole nother beast. Remember, they're brachiocephalic, right? So that means that their faces are more squished. They don't have the same snouts as bigger breeds, right? So you have to watch them constantly. They have more of a tendency to aspirate eating when they're eating, which means that while they're eating, the nose is coming back up. The milk is coming back up their nose. You have to be prepared for that. You have to watch your puppies eating constantly because if they aspirate, if that milk comes back up their nose and they inhale it and then it goes into their lungs, it's downhill, honestly, at that point, if you don't catch it in time. They could catch pneumonia, and a pneumonia will kill a puppy really quickly. So, at the least bare minimum, you need to have suction on hand. Let me show you. I'm not saying all puppies will aspirate, but you will have one or two pups that will tend to aspirate, and you have to have suction on hand. It's a lifesaver, honestly. So just like little things like that, just, to be prepared. Like I said, you guys could do it, but you have to be informed. You have to, do your research before you get into this. All right. Now I'm going to clean them and weigh them. All right. Okay, everything. Oh, you know what? I want to put pad down. Let me grab one of these. Sorry, just grabbing a pad. 1 second. Let me grab you. I'll just give them a little quick wipe down. Remember, like I was saying, guys, newborn pups are born deaf and blind. They don't start opening their eyes until about 10 days old or so, give or take. And then their ears are actually completely closed, and then they'll start opening up at about 2 weeks or so, right? They also can't regulate their body temperature for the first 4 weeks. So you have to keep them warm, right? Whether it's a heating pad, a heating lamp, you need something in your whelping boxes to keep them warm at the right body temperature. Or else, that's another thing. A cold puppy will kill your puppy. They can't regulate their body temperature. So they will get cold, and they will get cold fast. Also, if you try to feed a cold puppy, he can potentially pass away on you, because once their body temperature drops below a certain number, their stomach stop working the way it's supposed to, right? And then so any food that is in his stomach basically turns into cement, right? So you got to keep it way over 80 degrees. Like, I always keep a thermometer on hand. Now, I usually like to have my room at over 80 degrees. Now I'm at 79.9, but pretty much at 80 degrees, right? And then each box also has a heating pad on one side. If you could see, this is the controller for it. It's underneath the mats, so you can't see it, but they'll be able to feel it. And I don't have it over the whole whelping box. It's only on this area. That way, if the puppies are cold, they'll travel to that heat and stay in that area. And then I leave the rest of the whelping box without the heating pad. That way, the mama doesn't overheat also. You need to keep her comfortable in there too. You don't need your mamas overheating. Let me. All right. I'm just going to stimulate him to go to the bathroom, and then I will weigh him. How big is this beautiful boy? Right now, I'm calling him Goliath because he's just a beast. He is so big. But like I said, just stimulating him to go to the bathroom. He peed. I want to see if he might not have to poop. But you just kind of gently rub on his tail, on his butt a little bit, just to stimulate him to go. If he has to go, he'll pretty much go right away. Just like you stimulate him on his genital area to make him pee, and he peed right away. All right, I guess he got no poop. I always have a bag here just for my garbage. Just makes it easier. And then I'm just going to weigh him. And I keep track of all the weights to make sure that they're all gaining appropriate. You know what? I don't think you guys could see the scale over here. So I'm going to put it down here. You guys will be able to see it down here. Let's see. Can you see it there? Let me see. Yeah, you can, right? Okay. And I weigh them in grams for the first couple weeks. So that way, in grams, you can really see the difference in if they're gaining or not. Yeah, it's much tighter, so you'll be able to tell if they're gaining. And then if I see that some are falling behind, then I'll make sure that they eat first and longer before I put the bigger pups, because of course the bigger pups are going to push the weaker ones, smaller ones out the way. So I make sure that they'll eat first. Okay. All right. And then I'm just going to write that down. Hold on. Sorry. And I'll track their weights twice a day, once in the morning and once at night, like I said, to make sure that they're all gaining correctly. what time is it? And then I write the time down so that way I know. He's a 711 grams. He's my biggest one in this litter so far. Grab Mr. Blue. No, I don't think Mr. Blue is gonna have to go to the bathroom because he already went for me before. But you never know. Stimulate some more. Maybe he's got to go some more. See, at least he peed. Let's see. So I got two very different litters going on right now. I have, like I said, I have some fluffies and standards in this litter, and I have merles, blues, a black, some fawns, right? And the other litter is my litter that I've been trying to produce since last year, and I love both litters, right? For different reasons, but that litter I've been trying to produce since last year. I am really happy with that litter. This litter was supposed to actually come out last year in November, but that mama ended up getting sick, and she ended up actually with an open pyometra, which is an infection of the uterus. That can actually be deadly to them. It's actually very, very highly likely deadly. I was just very blessed that there's two versions of pyometra. One is an open pyometra and one is a closed, meaning if it's open, the cervix hasn't completely closed. So I used an outside stud for that female to be able to create this litter. So I was hoping that she was pregnant, and when I took her in for her ultrasound, there were no puppies, and she had fluid in her uterus. And she have been having a little bit, not a lot, just the smallest amount of, like, it started off as cream discharge, and then it grew to more of like a pinkish discharge. And I kind of knew right away. So that's kind of why I took her to the vet. And I was hoping I was wrong. I hope it was just, the puppies implanting into her uterus. That can also cause a little bit of bleeding. But when I took her for the ultrasound and it showed no puppies and fluid in the uterus, I knew right away that she had a pyometria. But I was very blessed that it ended up being an open pyometria, which is your best case scenario out of the two, right? An open means that all the pus and everything that is inside her uterus from the infection has a way of coming out because the uterus hasn't completely closed yet, right? So I was able to catch it in time. I took her to my reproduction specialist out in Long Island, and we gave her Alizin, which is a medication that is not FDA approved in the US, and only certain vets have to apply to be able to get that medication imported, and they'll allow it from Europe or other countries that do allow it. But that is a life-saving medication that can save their uterus. Because my options, if I did not find this medication, we're going to be having to do an emergency spay. And I was trying to hopefully not have to do that. Obviously, I would have done that if that was my only choice. Obviously, I'm going to save my female first before anything else. But I was, hoping that that this medication would work. So that reproductive specialist out in Long Island had the medication. I took her out there. We did blood work. They confirmed that it was an open pyometria. And we gave her the Alizin, and she sent her home with a ton of antibiotics, and then also did a culture that's going to come back in 10 days. But she sent her with, broad spectrum antibiotics to try to kind of cover everything just in case. And she called me back like 5 days later or something like that and said, you need a second antibiotic also because there's other stuff, there's a couple different bacteria that were growing. So she sent it into my local vet, and I was able to go, the prescription, she sent in the prescription to my local vet. I was able to pick that prescription up and give all of that stuff to my female, and it worked. Thank God. She was okay. I didn't have to spay her. The discharge slowly went away, and she was great. Right. I took her back to the reproductive specialist about a month after that to do another culture to make sure that there was nothing lingering in there, and nothing was lingering in there. So she was okay. The reproductive specialist did tell me that, this is a progesterone influenced infection. So anytime that she goes into heat, she still has that chance of that uterine infection coming back. So she said on her next heat, you either have two options. You either have to spay her before her next heat, or you have to absolutely breed her. And like I said, this is the female that I was trying to produce these very special puppies with. So I took the chance and I bred her. But on her period, I took her back to that reproductive. On her period this year in March, I took her back to the reproductive specialist, and we did a culture again to see if anything was growing in there, because we were going to put her on antibiotics regardless, just to be on the safe side. So that's what I did. We put her on antibiotics and hope to God that she didn't get sick again. And I already forgot. And she didn't. And she was able to give me this beautiful litter that I have over there. But before I went on that rant, the point of this was that I've been trying to produce this litter since November of last year. But let me circle back. So the pyometria, like I said, there are two versions. Sorry, as you can see, at this point, weighing them is not so easy because they don't stay still. So trying to get a true accurate number is not the easiest. Okay, let's see. Where was I? Sorry, I lost track, guys. Okay, let's see. Give me a second, guys. 6:30. Okay. 6:30. Let me write that down before I forget. So two types of pyometria. You got your open, which is what she had, and the pus was able to come out. Now your really scary one is your closed pyometria, which means the uterus has already closed, and there's no way for that pus to come out, which means that, and you don't even know, because at least this girl gave me signs because she had a little bit of discharge. But if you don't know that there's that she's got an infection, all that infection is accumulating in her body or in her uterus, and it's causing pressure, and that's just a ticking time bomb, because that can get so big from the pressure and all the pus in there that it'll rupture. And that's exactly what you don't want, because once it ruptures, you need to pray to get to the vet in time to be able to do the spay in time, hopefully, to be able to save her. But then once that ruptures, all that infection goes out through, gets rushed to her whole body. So that's what you don't want, right? And the dogs will give you signs. I've never had a dog. This is my first time in 19 years of breeding that I ever had a dog with pyometria, right? But the signs of a closed pyometria, they'll kind of stop eating. They'll be like more lethargic and stuff like that, right? So there'll be signs when it is a closed pyometria, but like I said, you just have to catch it in time, and that's a gamble. So that's one of those scenarios where you never want to be in. But I was blessed that it was an open pyometria, and I took her to a great vet, reproductive vet, and here we are. Fast forward now, she went to heat again in March. I was able to AI her this time, and she gave me a wonderful litter. So I'm very happy. I'll show you what those look like after I'm done here. But these guys are beautiful. Look, I love this little girl. I'm calling her Tigress right now. If you guys can see, she's got one side, and it goes right down the middle. You can see the line. One side is darker than the other side. I love her merle patterning. She also has tan points. Really, really, really pretty girl. Let's see. I know, guys. Hold on. It's time for them to eat. I gotta get Mama back in here. They're hungry. I don't know. All right. Hold on, Lily. Hold on, hold on. Hold on, Lily. Stay. Let's see. If you see, they don't sit still, so it's hard to tell their actual exact weight. So 588. Bear with me, I'm writing these down before I forget, because as I'm talking, I'm forgetting their weights also. But yeah. So this is all it entails when you have litters on the ground, right? Now this girl I find absolutely beautiful. You know, to me, she looks like a little otter. This is a little blue merle girl. I find her stunning. Now she's mostly gray in the back with just a couple patches of white. Most of her merle is on her tummy. I'll show you in a second. This is where her merle pattern and how absolutely gorgeous is this girl. Finds her really, really, really pretty. So yeah, going back to the pyometra thing, if you guys ever end up in a situation where, God forbid, your females end up with pyometra, spaying, depending whether it's open or closed, doesn't have to. Spaying doesn't always have to be the answer, right? I mean, if it's a closed pyometra, yes. Do not think about it twice. Do not try and save her, because there's even antibiotics or that the Alizin is not going to help, right? It's closed. There's nothing you can do about it except for spay her. But if it's an open pyometra, you have other options. You do have the Alizin. You also have, you can give her prostaglandin, right? But prostaglandin has more side effects, like violent diarrhea and nausea and stuff like that. So that's a more last case scenario, especially with the Frenchie, that it could possibly cause breathing trouble with when you take that medication. So that one, I didn't really want to go that route at all with my female. I was really looking for someone that had the Alizin. You just have to call around to reproductive vets to see if they have it, right? And like I said, I was fortunate enough to find Gold Coast Veterinary out in Long Island. They had it, and they really did save my girl's life. Great place. Really great vet. I really liked her a lot. You can tell the difference between a vet that actually cares and one that doesn't. A lot of vets don't like, and they'll automatically judge you for being a breeder. They don't. They're usually pro adoption and not breeding. But when you find a reproductive specialist, that's a regular vet. But when you find a reproductive specialist, this is what they do, right? So they actually do care. Now, this vet called me on the weekend just to check in on my female, sent in prescriptions for me on the weekends and overnight. You know, it's really great when you find a really great vet that really cares. You could see the absolute difference. You know, because even your emergency vets don't have that medication. They will do emergency C-sections if they have to, but it's not always the case. Yeah, I'll tell you another story. That same female with that other litter, when she went to deliver, she delivered last Saturday. She technically probably should have delivered on Friday evening when I had set up. You always have to have a backup for your backup for your backup. I'm telling you, because you just never know what's going to happen, right? I had set up her C-section at the same time that I had set up hers. I'm like, when I took her for her C-section, I was like, hey, doc, I have another female that is due in a couple days. She gave birth Monday. I'm like, I told the doc, I'm like, that female is going to be ready to go for her C-section Thursday, Friday. He's like, okay, no problem. I also told my other vet, I always have like 2 or 3 vets, just in case. I also told my other vets that I was like, I have a female that is due. Well, I told them that both were due. But the problem is I have a really great vet that's out in Long Island. Mind you, remember, I'm in Jersey, out in Staten Island. But he only works till about 4 or 5 o'clock. He doesn't, and he works Tuesday through Sunday, but he doesn't work past that time. He doesn't do on call. He doesn't do emergencies, and he definitely is not coming in like on a Monday or anything like that, especially because it was Memorial Day weekend. So I, let him know ahead of time. I'm like, listen, I have a female that's probably due Monday. He's like, well, I'm not in the office. So all right, he already told me he's not going to be in the office. So there went that. I had to make sure I had another vet. I had another vet on backup. He was definitely available. She ended up delivering Monday evening. I told him, I'm like, I have another female that is due at the end of the week. He's like, okay, no problem. I'm around. Great. That's usually my vet. He does after hours. He's 24 on call. So he's my backup when my Staten Island guy is not available. And, I told him ahead of time just in case my female decided to deliver in the middle of the night, just like my first female. Right. So Friday came along. Hold on one second. Let me see what his weight is. Oh, girl, stay still for a second. All right, 566. So Friday came along. I texted him saying, "Hey, my girl is ready to go," and this was at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Mind you, listen, when you're going to get into French bulldog breeding or any dog that you need to have a C-section for, you need to make sure you either have access to someone that does reverse progesterones or you do reverse progesterones yourself, right? Because timing that C-section is incredibly, incredibly critical. If you don't time that C-section correctly, based on you're supposed to time it, number one, by her date of ovulation. But also, you're supposed to do reverse progesterones, which is blood work, to let you know that her progesterone numbers are coming down. So you do a regular progesterone test to catch that LH surge from when she's going to ovulate on the way up, so you know when it's time to mate her. And then once she is actually pregnant, her progesterone levels stay high throughout the whole pregnancy, and that's what keeps the pregnancy viable and, is still in her uterus, right? The puppy's still in her uterus. Once it's time for her to deliver, or, a couple days before, her progesterone start trending down, right? And depending on what machine you have, it's depending on when it's ready for them to have a C-section, right? So it's a twofold. You have an estimate of when the delivery date is based on when they ovulated. You calculate 63 days after ovulation. You don't go by the day that you inseminated them or that they naturally tied. You go by when they ovulated, and you count 63 days from that. If you don't count 63 days from that, your timing is going to be off, and then that's when you can get into trouble. And either your female goes into natural birth, or you to have these puppies delivered way too soon, and your puppies now are premature. So doing reverse progesterones is life-saving and critical, right? So reverse progesterone, like on my machine, like I have 2 machines. I have a backup for the backup. I have a Wanfo. On a Wanfo, 5 or below, it means she's ready for her C-section. On my other machine, which is the Hoek IF1, anything below a 3, she's ready for a C-section, right? I just, I prefer my Hoek IF1 machine, but those cartridges have been out of stock since sometime last year. So that's why I have my backup. I have the Wanfo. I did a reverse progesterone on that female, the night before, and she was like a 12. That was Thursday night, right? Like, okay, we still have time. It's not looking like it's going to be Friday. Hold on. Man, I'm sitting here trying to multitask, and I already forgot what her weight was. So give me a sec. Hold on, let me see. That's not her. That's not who you were. You it was you. Hold on. So the night before she was a 12. In the morning she was an 8. So I'm like, okay, it's definitely not going to, or a 9. I think she was like a 9. So I'm like, okay, it's definitely not going to be today. Right. So I'm relaxing and I'm like, okay, it looks like it's gonna be Saturday instead. It's like, okay, I have time. I'll take her to my vet out in Staten Island. Right. Um, she didn't eat that day, but I was like, okay, even the day. So females, when they're getting closer um to delivery, they don't eat. They usually don't eat the day of, and sometimes the day before. Right. So I was like, okay, this makes sense. Um, but as the day progressed, like I saw her starting to pant a little heavier, but she wasn't shivering. She wasn't anything. I checked her temperature in the morning, and we were still like 99.9. So I'm like, okay, we have time, right? Because once they're so a dog's temperature is usually like 101 and a 100 point something and to 101 point something and above. That's usually their normal temperature, right? Once their temperatures start dropping as they get closer to delivery. Um, Once they're ready to deliver, they drop below 99. They're usually about 98.3 to sometimes 97.9, 97.8. Then that you know um, birth is due within a couple hours, right? But we were 99.9, so I'm like, okay, we're good. We still have time. It's definitely these were all things that were reassuring me that it was not going to be Friday, right? The day progressed. I saw her panting a little more, so I decided to do another progesterone to see where we were at. I did that progesterone, like I said, 3 something, and we were at like an 8 point something. I'm like, okay, we're not there, but it's looking like, this could drop, and it could be overnight. So I let my vet that I had on call know that it was going to be for Friday night most likely because she's starting to sometime overnight because she was starting to exhibit all signs, right? Well, he's like, oh, I totally forgot, and I'm actually out of town, and I'm in Connecticut, and I'm not back till tomorrow. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, this is where we're at, right? He's not available. I'm not 100% sure that she's actually the way she's going because she started dropping really fast. And I'm like, this could probably be overnight. And overnight is your worst case scenario if you don't have a vet lined up for overnight. Like I said, my Staten Island guy doesn't do on calls overnight, and he's in the office by 4 o'clock. So when I called him and let him know what's going on, he's like, "Yeah, I'm not in the office till tomorrow." Right? He was done. He's like, "I'll be there tomorrow morning, but I'm not around tonight." My other guy that I had lined up, um, I don't know, I guess forgot, and he was out of town. So, you kind of panic a little bit, even for a seasoned breeder. I'm sitting here like, because I didn't line up a third one because the first guy had told me, hey, I'm 100% around, I got this, no matter what time of day, don't worry. So I didn't line up the third guy, right? When I called the third guy, he's like, no, I'm not around because you didn't tell me ahead of time. So he had already had left for the weekend because now we're Friday late evening. So I'm like, great. So at that point, she's not completely there yet to deliver. So it's not like I needed to take her to an emergency vet, but I'm like, I'm having to monitor her overnight. Obviously, if she was going to go into labor, then I would take her to an emergency vet. But what I did was I kept her really calm. I laid her on my bed next to me and we laid in bed all night. Now, as the night progressed, she did. She started panting heavier. Um, and She was uncomfortable, and I'm like, oh, we're really close. We're really close. I knew that I had to keep her really calm, quiet, non-stressed, in a dark room. I made sure that I didn't get up, because if I got up from my bed, she wanted to get up also. So I made sure I didn't get up, and stayed with her all night. Now she lasted through the night. You know, we it was a no rest type of night for either one of us, for her or me, because I was sitting there watching her at all times, and she was uncomfortable and panting heavily, but she wasn't shivering yet. She wasn't 100% yet there yet, but I knew we were really close. Um, Around, I don't know, 7:30 in the morning, my other female that I already had delivered, she had to go to the bathroom, so I had to get up at that point. I told my dog that was on top of the bed, I'm like, stay. All I did was open the door just to let the other female out to the bathroom so she could go downstairs to the bathroom, and my female jumped off the bed, which is something that you never want for a French bulldog ever. But I didn't have the doggy stairs on the bed, because if she sees them, she would come right off. So, I told her to stay. I was hoping she would stay, and that's why I didn't have the doggy stairs. She jumped off the bed. So I was like, oh, you're not supposed to do that. She went straight into the whelping box, and basically her water broke right in the whelping box. At that point, I not that I panicked, but I was like, all right, crap. I was like, we don't have much time now. Her water broke. This is my worst case scenario that I didn't want, because now I'm sitting here having to rush her somewhere, because here's the thing. Once their water breaks, that means a puppy, once their water breaks, they can't breathe, right? Once their water breaks, there's nothing. Now they're taking breaths. And if that puppy's taking breaths, he's going to suffocate inside the uterus. I'm like, this is the worst case scenario. I called my closest emergency vet, and I'm like, hey, I'm on my way with a French bulldog. Her water just broke. I need an emergency C-section. I took her to this emergency C-section emergency vet, the closest one to me. I had given them ahead of time. I'm like, listen, I'm 20 minutes away from you. This is what's happening. They're like, yeah, we're prepared. We got this, whatever. I got there. They took their sweet old time evaluating her. And they're like, no, this is not an emergency. She's already, at this point, mind you, leaking a little bit of green discharge, out of her vajayjay. And I'm like, getting more nervous, because green discharge means the placentas are detaching from her uterus. Really bad scenarios for the puppies. And I'm like, you guys are taking it. I'm like, I understand you guys got to do what you got to do, but you guys are taking your sweet old time. We got green discharge. She already went. Her water broke, at least in one of the puppy sacks. I'm like, you guys aren't getting it. This is an emergency situation. You guys have to do an emergency section now, right? And they're like, well, the doctor's evaluating her. They'll come out and talk to you. Anyway, probably about 30, 45 minutes pass, and they finally come talk to me. And they're like, this is all a normal part of the delivery process. That their vet, it has a very busy day, and that if I was going to wait for a C-section there, that it would be hours, because she's got to do her regular appointments first. I obviously was very upset at that point. Here, this is the litter that I was very much anticipating. This litter has husky pandas in it. I've been trying to produce this litter since last year. And she's looking like she's going to be a fluffy husky panda. But so my whole rant this whole time is to try to produce these, right? But again, sorry, back. So, they're saying that, I'm getting off track, so sorry. They're saying that it'd be hours before C-section. And I'm like, you guys don't understand. I don't have hours. They're like, well, that's just the way it is. We have a busy day. And I'm like, well, what's the point of being an emergency vet hospital, 24-hour emergency hospital, if regardless, I'd have to wait. I don't have time to wait for this situation. At that point, by the time I got there, remember, this happened around before 7:30. I rushed out of my house with her to that place. Took 20 minutes. It was almost 8 o'clock. They took so long to evaluate her. Now it's like 8:45 or so. 8:45 or so, and they're like, it's going to be hours, right? And I'm like, you know what? At this point, just do me a favor, do an ultrasound on the puppies to make sure, or on mom's uterus, to make sure that my puppies are not in distress and that their heart rates are okay. So they did the ultrasound. Their heart rates, they could only find 5 heart rates, they said. And I'm like, well, I know this is a litter of 6, but when they said that they could only find 5 heart rates, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess that makes sense. Her water broke on the one puppy, and she was having green discharge. I'm like, crap, I guess we lost that puppy. I'm like, there's nothing I could do about it right now, but at least the other one's heart rates are great. So I'm like, listen, just hand me back my female. At that point, I knew by the time I got to Staten Island, my regular vet was going to be there, and I was hoping and praying that the rest of the puppies would make it to that point. Right? So they gave me my female. I rushed to Staten Island. I gave him a heads up, and he met me at the vet hospital, and he's like, listen, everything that they told you, it's not right. That everything's not okay. This is not a normal part of the delivery process. He's like, I can't guarantee you that your puppies are going to be okay. He's like, but I'm going to try my absolute best. And I'm like, I know, doc, I know where we're at, And then he took her to the back, did her C-section. Meantime, I'm worried because I'm like, shoot, I don't even know if any are left, right? I'm like, all these puppies might have already have passed away. Sorry, I'm going to scooch through. So fast forward, he does a C-section, comes back out with 6 beautiful puppies. He's like, you got her here in time. He was able to save all of them, all 6. So that was, a very, very, very stressful day, but obviously very, very relief and very happy when he told me that all 6 were fine. I definitely thought that we had lost one, especially when the other vet said that they only found 5 heartbeats, right? And I knew it had been so much time since that her water had ruptured that I really thought that we had lost that puppy, right? So when he told me that all 6 puppies were completely fine and mom was great, you just don't understand the sigh of relief, because they're all my babies. My females are my babies. They're my family first before they are, my breeding females. And I want nothing to happen to them. And I also don't want anything to happen to these puppies. If I choose to bring them into this world, I want to do my absolute 150% best to make sure that these puppies are okay. They didn't ask to be here. I put them here, right? So I'm going to absolutely do my absolute best to make sure that they're all okay. But my point is, you always have to have a backup for the backup for the backup, because you just never know what situation you are going to end up in. Like I supposedly had it all packed down, planned correctly and everything like that. And life doesn't go, smoothly sometimes. It just doesn't always, sometimes it will go the way you planned it, but you never know, right? So like I said, if you guys are going to get into this, you got to make sure you have a backup for the backup for the backup. Because look, in emergency vet, what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to be there for these situations. And look at the way that place replied. A big, huge, very well-known emergency hospital, vet hospital here in New Jersey. And that's what they told me. Well, it won't be anytime soon. You have to wait your turn in line because there's other people in front of you for regular appointments, not for the emergency situations, for their regular appointments that they already had for the day. I'm like, what? What kind of emergency vet is that? You know what I mean, guys? So there's that with that situation. So my point is, nothing about breeding is easy. It's really not. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. Can you guys do it? Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, with a ton of research and resources. You know what I mean? It's not about just, hey, I'm going to breed these 2 dogs together and I'm going to have puppies and it's going to be easy. No, It's just like I said, look at the C-section, just for the C-section situation, you know, the ordeal that was, and I'm a seasoned breeder, right? Imagine with someone that doesn't have a ton of people on the backup as backup vets, because I don't know where you guys live, but in New Jersey, there are no reproductive. Well, I'm sorry, there's one reproductive vet in New Jersey, and she's on her way out, about to retire, and she only does like 2 days a week. She does, I believe, like Tuesdays and Fridays is the only time she's in the office. So it's not someone that you could really count on for situations like this. Your regular vets don't do C-sections, right? They don't want to deal with breeders. They don't like breeders, actually, even though they don't tell you to your face directly. You can see it in their face that they're looking down at you because you choose to be a breeder, right? They're more pro rescue, most vets. So to find a good vet in New Jersey is really hard. That's why I have to go, like I said, Staten Island, Long Island, New York. So having like I said, having a backup for your backup for your backup, very important. In if you want to get into, breeding at least French bulldogs or any of the breeds that need C-sections. What else? You need, and you need like proper equipment. At least, I'm not saying go out and get the incubator and the oxygen concentrator. If you're only going to have one litter, is it important? Absolutely. But if you're only going to have one litter, then it's kind of a waste of money because you never know. It's more of you don't really need it until you need it, and when you need it now. You can't wait for it to be shipped a day or two out, because a day or two out will mean the lives of your puppies. So it's important to have on hand ahead of time if you're actually going to do this for the long haul. If you're only going to do one litter, you have to pray that you won't need it. Same thing with tube feeding. Rather to have it on hand, just in case you do need it, than have to wait. Puppies can't go a day or two without eating. Their blood sugar is going to crash, and you're going to have a dead, dehydrated puppy on hand, right? So better to have the tube feeding on hand than to not have it, need it, and then now it's too late, right? So it's like these things that you guys have to really think about if you guys want to do this. And then, how long have I been doing this live already? This is how long it takes. And I'm only on, I just started the second whelping box. It's time consuming to clean all these boxes. You guys got to make sure that you have the time. You can't leave mama and babies alone, at least for the first couple weeks. You have to be there at least for the first, I would say, 3 weeks, 24/7, or somebody has to be home 24/7 to watch your mamas to make sure that they're okay after their C-section, to watch the puppies 24/7, right? To be cleaning all that stuff. Puppies, like I said, can aspirate really easily. If they aspirate, they're gonna catch, and if you don't catch it in time because you're not home, that stuff is gonna go into the lungs, and that's a dead puppy. You catch a pneumonia, it's really hard to try and come back from that. Then we're talking about you definitely need the incubator to keep them warm. You need the oxygen, for them, because they won't be able to breathe on their own. You got to give them NEP treatments, antibiotics. It's a ton of things. So you definitely have to be there for at least the first couple weeks. Now, if you don't have the time to take off from work for at least 3 weeks, then you better pray that you have someone that's going to help you, for that time, or else maybe this is not the breed. But you would know these things if you research it ahead of time, Let me see. Sorry, I'm just grabbing the pads to put down. Okay. Let's see. And like I said, so this process that I'm doing right now, you see how long it's taking? How long have I been on live? Probably over an hour, I'm going to say, right? And that's just once. And I do this like every 4 hours or so, or, you know, give or take, when I see it getting dirty again. Again, you don't want your puppies laying in pee and poop, right? If the whelping area gets damp, then they're laying on that. That could brew bacteria, you know, an infection. Also, them laying their paws on wet stuff for a continuous amount of time soften their nails, and then their nails can fall out, and that's more infection. So it's a constant cleaning process. Actually, you know what? Let me cut this one. Just saying, guys, you know, a lot that goes involved. But you know, like I said, thought I'd do it a little different this time. Most breeders, like I said, showed you the already cleaned up process. I wanted to come and show you the reality of what it's like with newborn pups, you know? Just gonna move this one out the way. Put this one over here. Let's see. Where did I leave my tape? I see it. All right, let's see. Let me grab my tape. We'll tape this side up. Then I have to clean the puppies, weigh them. You know, still got a little while. Let's see. Still got a little while to go. You know, that's good. So that's the first two or 3 weeks or so, and then about 3.5, 4 weeks, depending on mama. You know, when mama starts backing off of wanting to feed the puppies, because she will naturally want to wean them, then it's time to, you know, start giving them mush. And that's a whole nother thing. Now you have to sit there and gradually increase their feedings of mush, right? And you got to make sure that they all eat so that they're all gaining well. You got to know how to prepare the mush, how to actually get them to start eating it, things like that. I'm gonna attempt to go do more lives this time, you know, and not go ghost as last time. I went ghost with last litter when that happened with my female, when she got the pyometria. Then my focus was on making sure she was okay, and I was not going to have time for lives, so that's when I stopped. But this time we should have no issues, and I should be able to show you guys at least all 8 weeks of whelping these babies. So we're going to call this basically week 1 with them, even though my first litter is almost 2 weeks, but the first one is, you know, 1 week old today. So we'll call this week 1. I'll do another live sometime next week. We'll call that week 2, etc. So you come along for the journey. Like I said, this litter is Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 5 days older than this one. So this one's almost 2 weeks old. Their eyes already opened. The other guys, their eyes haven't opened yet. Give me a few minutes. Let me finish taping here. But then I'll grab a puppy from each litter, and you'll see the huge size difference with just 5 days of difference in these puppies. And I know the mamas I can hear the mamas downstairs. They want to come back up to feed their babies. Where's the other tape? There it is. Let's see. And you probably think that I'm going OCD on with tape, but listen, do you see how small these guys are? And all they do is wiggle around like little snakes. They will find the tiniest little hole to try and figure out how to get underneath these pads. And then, like I said, that's a whole nother issue, because then, you know, they could suffocate under the pads because they get trapped and they can't get out. Mama can't see them. She could sit or lay on them and, you know, suffocate them that way, squish them that way. So I make sure that they're all taped down. I don't know how people do it with blankets. That's one of my biggest fears, that they're gonna get underneath. Same thing, get underneath the blankets, get trapped under there, and suffocate. So that's another reason why I don't like to use blankets. It's hard to tape down blankets. So I just find this so much easier for so many reasons. But like I said before, guys, if you guys have any suggestions about the way you guys do it, please let me know in the comments. I'm always up for suggestions of how to, you know, make my setup a little bit better for the pups, maybe easier. I don't know, something. Sorry if my butt's in your face, guys. Sorry. I'll move in 1 second. Just wanted to tape this side down. Sorry. That was rude. Sorry. As you can see, I go through a ton of tape a day, but I don't mind. I don't mind using up all the tape in the world if it means keeping my babies safe. You know? We're almost done with this whelping box. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, I'm gonna walk this way. Just cutting a little piece because this whelping box ends up needing just a little piece of pad on the corner. So I'm just cutting that to size. That way I secure every spot and they can't get underneath and, you know, through anywhere. Okay. Okay. Let's see. And then I use actually 2 different types of tape, depending on where. I need some tape to be stronger than other tape, depending on where I'm taping. What time is it? It's 11. All right, let's see. Almost done here, guys. Here. All right, finally done with this whelping box. Now I could weigh. And then So these things, I don't know if I mentioned earlier. No, I don't think I did. These boards that I took off and cleaned and put back on, they're called pig rails. What it does is it leaves a gap underneath and on the sides so that the puppies can safely go underneath and not get trapped by mom, because mom will go into a box, kind of lean up and use the backboards, you know, as a resting area. And if you don't have pig rails, it could actually squish the baby and they could, you know, die that way. These pig rails keep them safe so that mama can't squish them. All right, let me put some gloves back on and then we're going to clean and weigh these babies. Now, you know I was talking a lot, but I don't know if you noticed, once I took this first litter out of this box, I took out that pad, threw it out, cleaned and disinfected the whelping of the incubator box, and then put my second litter in there. I never touch the two litters with the same gloves, so that way I don't cross-contaminate if litter A has something that it doesn't give it to litter B and vice versa. And then I don't ever put them in a same area together, just in case, yes, if one of them is sick or something, that it doesn't get the other one sick. But yeah, I'm going to grab a pup from each litter and I'll show you the size differences of just 5 days. Oh my gosh. Okay. Look at the difference in 5 days. Now this is also my smallest female in this litter, but you'll see the difference. Look, 5 days old, 5 days difference. These guys will be 2 weeks on Monday. These guys just turned a week old, or today, will be a week old today. Let's see. So today's Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So these guys are 12 days old. These guys are 7 days old. Look at that huge difference in these babies. All right. Insane, what 5-day difference. Now, this is also a bigger female. Let me show you. This female right here was the smallest in this litter. This is the smallest in this litter. 5 days apart, still huge, absolutely huge difference in sizes in these puppies. All right. All right. Give me a sec. I just want to change this glove. Like I said, I don't ever touch the pups with, the same gloves with the litters. Never cross-contaminate. Ugh. My glove doesn't want to fit on now. Oh. Okay. Fine. You know when your hands are sweating a little bit, it's hard to put gloves back on. That's where I'm at. It's 80 degrees in this room right now, so it's a little warm. My hands are definitely feeling it from sweating in the gloves. Okay. I'm gonna need more wipes. All right. I'm just gonna start cleaning these pups. 365. It's 11:30. Okay. Just bear with me. I'm still old school, and I know there's apps to keep track of their weight, but I'm old school. I still write things down manually. Probably just showed my age with that comment, but I don't know. It's just easier for me than doing an app. Okay, let me grab. I'm calling him Attila. This is my biggest puppy in this litter, and he's huge compared to the other ones in this particular litter. So I'm calling him Attila for right now. I don't have names for either litter. Those are my little nicknames for them, so I know who's who. But definitely looking for names for these litters. So if you guys want to help me think of some names, drop it in the comments below. Because I need 13 names for these babies. definitely need 13 names. So if you guys want to help me with that, I'm all yours. I'd appreciate it. But how beautiful is this little male husky panda? French bulldog. Sorry, bear with me. I'm just cleaning his bum. Wiggly little potatoes, aren't they? Oh, oh. He's pooping. Sorry, guys. But this is what we got to do. You got to help them go to the bathroom, stimulate them every 2 hours or so, give or take, to go to the bathroom. Just grabbing more. Oh, that fell. Just grabbing more wipes. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Oh my gosh. All right. Let's see. He's got a lot of poop. And then, you know, I inspect. I inspect to make sure that their bum is not a little raw or anything like that. Now you have to do it ever so gently. But sometimes poop gets stuck on their bum and mom doesn't clean it well. So it kind of gets stuck there and it hardens, and that could be irritating. So I inspect their bums to make sure that they don't have, you know, that their bums are okay. Because if not, then I will put a little bit of like a triple antibiotic ointment or something just to help their bum heal and not get any more raw. All right. This is Mr. Husky Panda over here. Gorgeous little baby. Now I'm debating whether I keep him or the female. I'm patiently waiting to see who ends up being a fluffy, and then I'll make my decision based off of that. I do want to keep a male, but if he doesn't end up being fluffy, then I think I will keep the female. We'll see. We'll see. So far, I'm not sure. It doesn't look like he's going to be a fluffy. I'll know better probably in another week or so, and then I'll explain to you why I don't think he's going to be a fluffy. I did send out DNA, still waiting on, depending on those results too. But usually by about 2 weeks old, you can kind of tell who's going to be a fluffy and who's not, you know, based off of just their coats. Let me show you guys. This is the other female husky panda. This is a male, this is a female. But look closely. Can you see their coats? You see how she has, like, it looks like longer hair and a wave to it on the back of her neck and these little sides right here. She's definitely looking like she's 100% fluffy. Definitely. His looks shorter. I don't see the ripples on his, or the, you know, the way the light catches it, the shininess. So I'm thinking he is not going to be a fluffy. He'll be if he's not a fluffy, he'll definitely be a fluffy carrier. But she's definitely, I know for sure, a fluffy. So we'll see. We'll see more in a couple days. Can you see that difference? Look on the side right here. You see the ripples of her hair? It does like a wave. His doesn't. So we'll see. We'll see with time. I know he's absolutely gorgeous. I don't see it on her yet. Let me see. I could see, has tan points on his face also. So he's looking like he is a husky tri panda, or a husky panda tri, really, because he's got, this is probably lilac. So he's probably a lilac husky, but I also see tan points, right? So he's going to be absolutely gorgeous either way. Fluffy or not, he's actually going to be gorgeous. I don't see tan points on her yet. I mean, they can pop up in a couple more days. So she is so small, so it's harder to see. I don't see it on her paws either. But either way, I know that she's definitely probably a lilac or blue. It's looking probably like a lilac husky panda female. Whichever's husky, whichever's fluffy, I will definitely keep. If they're both fluffy, then those are decisions I'm going to have to make. But I'm definitely going to keep at least one of these guys. I prefer a male, but who knows? Who knows? It all depends on if he's fluffy or not. All right, now I'm going to weigh them. And then I'll do it down here so you guys can see. Hold on, baby. You got to stay still for me for a second. Okay. 4, 3, 8. So for reference, my biggest male in this litter is this guy. He is, what did I just say? Hold on, 438 grams. The black puppy is my biggest litter in that second litter. His name is I'm calling him Goliath right now because he's a beast. He weighs 711 grams. Look at the huge difference. Almost 300-gram difference, just 5 days difference in age. You know? Who am I grabbing next? Now, if you notice, on the first litter, I don't have collars on them because I could tell them all apart. They're all very, very distinct and different, so I don't need the collars on them. I know who's who. With these guys, I had to put collars on because besides the husky pandas, the other pups, there are 3 that really look alike, and it's harder to tell them apart. As they grow, now I'm able to kind of keep them apart, but at first it was harder, so I had little ID collars on them so I could know who's who. All right, so first litter was litter of 7. I have 5 females and 2 boys in that litter. And this litter is a litter of 6. I have 4 females and 2 males. So I definitely have a ton of females in both these litters. She is looking like she is going to be a full Isabella girl. Ooh, she's peeing. But yeah, this is everything that we do. You see the difference now in the whelping boxes? Let's see how long that lasts. Not very long at all, you know? But I wanted to show you guys the behind the scenes of what it's really like to breed. And, you know, at least a morning in the life of a breeder. You saw the difference with the way those whelping boxes look at the beginning and then how I like to keep them. This is the way I want them. In a couple hours, I'll at least clean the whelping boxes all over again. You know, the pups, I will simulate them to go to the bathroom every 2 hours, but I won't weigh them every 2 hours, obviously. Sorry. She's hungry. I'm just going to go grab mom. Hold on. Give me a second. Mom? Hello, Mom? Diamond Luna, let's go. Hello? Nobody's around. Thank you. Great. Diamond and Luna, let's go. Diamond and Luna, let's go. You coming or not? I don't have time for this. You coming in or not? Come on, Diamond and Luna, let's go. Come on. Nope. Come on. Come on. Here are the mamas. Go ahead. But go in, check on their babies. I had the mamas outside for a little fresh air. They got some food. Sorry, I'm going to scooch through. They got some food. They got a little bit of playing time outside. Now it's time for them to feed their babies. You see how instantly their pups know when their mamas are back? You see the difference, how rowdy they got? They could smell their mamas. They don't hear yet, but they could definitely smell her. What's going on, Luna? Oh, sorry, I'm trying to get more wipes. This is not your baby. This one's not yours. Let me move this so you can get in. Go. In. Come on, go in. It's okay. We're fine. She watches me like a hawk over there when I have her babies in my hands to make sure that her babies are okay. Luna. Ah. Now I'm blessed that these two mamas get along really well. And I could have the whelping boxes together, and these girls grew up together, so they don't mind being together with their litters in here. But sometimes that's not always the case. If you know, uh, when these mamas give birth, they're very overprotective, obviously, and they usually don't want any other dog in here because they see it as a threat naturally. So they will kind of be more stressed and on high alert and maybe possibly lunge at the other dog because they don't know if they're going to hurt their babies, right? It's a natural instinct. But these girls get along great, and I don't have that issue. And there's a reason why I can have these two whelping boxes here together. Luna, in. In. Come on. Go in. Back off. Well done. 496. All right. Here's another one. Here's another one. There you go. All right, Luna. Come on. Your babies are hungry. Come here, baby. Go. Good girl. Same thing. If I touch this mama, I'm not touching these babies after I touch her with the same gloves. I switch gloves for everything. I want zero cross-contamination. Just airing out my hands so that I can put gloves back on. Yep, still hard to put on. It's one of those things. Small gloves fit me, normal basis. Medium gloves are too big. But once my hands are sweaty, it's hard to put on small gloves. All right, what we got next? We got purple. Like I said before, guys, I need help with names for 13 pups. So definitely drop a comment below if you want to help me name these litters. That'd be great. With Diamond's litter, it might be a little easier because we got husky male, husky female, and we got purple girl, pink girl, and red girl. Everybody has collars except for the huskies because you know, I could tell everybody, I could tell those two apart easily. But they all have collars, so if you tell me collar XYZ, you know, purple collar can be named this and red collar can be named this, that'd be greatly appreciated. Luna's litter, since they don't have collars on, might be a little harder, but hey, definitely drop a name below. I got 5 females in Luna's litter that need names and two males that need names. And Diamond's litter, I got 4 females that need names and 2 males that need names. So that'd be awesome if you guys can help me out with that. This little girl's looking like she's gonna be either blue or lilac and tan, fluffy female. I could show you with her too. You could see her coat pattern. That I could already tell that she's a fluffy. Give me a sec. I'm just kind of cleaning her up a little bit. All right. Can you see? Look at the fluffiness up here and the ripples. She's got kind of waves in the way the light catches it. She's got waves. That's how I can instantly tell that I know she's a fluffy. Let me show you a short-haired so you can see the difference. Okay. Now you can see that she's a short-haired. Look at her fur, the little ripples and the way the light catches it compared to this little girl. Hair's a lot shorter. You don't have that little wave ripple effect of her hair. Fur. You see? So I could definitely tell that she's a fluffy. Let's weigh her. She's 404 grams. Remember, this litter is 1 week old today. It's looking like it's pretty much almost time to cut her nails. I will probably do that later on today. I won't do it in the live, but I'll do that later on today. Their nails are like little razor blades at this stage. They grow so fast, and they use their nails when they're feeding off a mom. So they kind of dig their nails into her, and if they're really long, it starts to irritate mom, and she won't want to feed as much because it starts to hurt. So keeping their nails short is one of those things that is just really important. Your babies aren't hungry? Let's see. So we got the other female panda, or the female panda. Remember, the one's male. This is the female. Remember, this one is fluffy. Fluffy, probably blue or lilac. I think she's probably lilac. I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm waiting on DNA results. I sent those out already. Lilac panda. Fluffy Frenchie panda. Just helping them go to the bathroom, guys. Remember, they can't pee or poop on their own at this stage. So either mama helps them go to the bathroom, and then I help them also to stimulate them to help them go to the bathroom. Just doing my raw morning routine with them. I already cleaned their whelping boxes, you know, all the dirtiness in the whelping boxes, cleaned them, disinfected them. And now I'm just cleaning the babies and weighing them. I always keep track of the weights. And I just help clean them up a little bit, you know, just to keep them clean. If you just joined, thank you for coming in. Welcome. Just my morning routine with my 2 litters of newborn Frenchies. I have 13 pups that are between a week and a half and 1 week old. This litter to my left with the dark mama. They are 12 days old. They will be 2 weeks old on Monday. Those guys already, their eyes are already opened. And my litter to the right, which are these babies. These guys are 1 week old today. Now, I'm just going to put a little bit of triple antibiotic on her bum. I see it's getting just a smidge raw. Maybe mom might have not cleaned the poop off well, and a little bit stayed on there, and it kind of just caused a little bit of irritation. So I'm just putting a little bit of triple antibiotic, just a little dab, to, help it be less raw and like a protective barrier against it. A little protective barrier so that the wetness doesn't stay on her bum. I'm just gonna weigh her. She's 380. I'm just gonna take this glove off. She's 380 grams. Just gonna look over here for a second. Okay. I'm gonna give her to mom. Grab new gloves anytime you do, anything that you don't want to touch the other puppies with. Obviously, always change out your gloves. Oh, I'm gonna grab another pup. This looks like she's gonna be another Isabella female. If you notice, I have two very, very opposite ends of the spectrum litters going on right now. I have your darker colors, or dark color merles, and you got your black puppy and your blue puppy, things like that, and your fawn sables. And then this litter over here is a complete opposite, where we have our Isabellas and the lilacs and the husky pandas. So really, really happy, really blessed with these two litters. They're all healthy and strong, and mamas are doing great. Really, really couldn't be happier and blessed about the way these litters came out. She is so tiny, especially because of her color. Does she not look like a little potato? True definition of tiny potato. All right. I keep track of these weights twice a day. That way I can see who's gaining and who's not, and who I have to keep an eye on the most. So that way, I make sure that they all get enough food. Hold on, let me see. And I will assist and make sure that the smallest ones eat. That's why I just put her on, make sure that she has the best teat and that she gets her good fill of milk, because she is the smallest in this litter, and then that the other ones are not going to push her off. All the things that you want to keep an eye on so that no one falls behind weight-wise. This little one, absolutely gorgeous boy. Gorgeous, gorgeous boy. Gosh, maybe a platinum. Definitely has pink. So maybe a platinum, maybe just a really light Isabella. Not sure. I gotta wait on DNA. But this little one, I always have to watch out with the most. He likes to eat like a tank. He really goes ham on trying to get milk out of his mama's teats, and then he will not know how to swallow and suck at the same time because he definitely aspirates on me. Well, not aspirates. Nose comes milk comes out of his nose a lot, so I always have to constantly watch him. I have to suction him a good amount of time um, when he feeds. So these are the things that you guys got to watch out for because you always have one or two pups that will overly aggressively try and feed, and then they can't swallow and breathe at the same time, and then it all comes back up their nose. Now, I don't know if you could hear it. Can you hear that? I mean, you hear that? That's what it sounds like when they need to be suctioned. I'm going to suction him in a second because I could hear he's got something back there. And those are, like I said, really important to make sure that you suction them out well because you don't want that to end up in their lungs, cause a pneumonia, and puppies can go downhill really quickly with pneumonia. So really important to keep an eye on. Where did I put my suction machine? I just had it before. Here it is. Let me try and do this here so you guys can see. So this kind of just goes to their nose and they hate it, but it's got to be done. And it kind of, you put it, you occlude their nostril and it sucks up anything that they might have back there. And they hate it, but it's so important. It really is one of those lifesavers. I know, baby. I'm sorry. I know. I know. I know, baby. There we go. Okay. One more time on the other side. And then the milk will get sucked up in here. Obviously, you got to clean this out to make sure that, you know, you keep this clean for the next time. Hold on, baby. Hold on. Hold on, baby. All right. Let's see. Nope, I still hear him. Hold on. Let me do this here. You know, they catch pneumonia, then you got to put them on antibiotics, give them a nebulizer, maybe some colloidal silver in the nebulizer, some albuterol, you know, make sure that they're on oxygen. Like, you have to do so many things to try and keep these guys, bless you, to keep these guys from going downhill. Now, this litter, Diamond's litter, these guys are 5 days old. Her milk just came in. You know, after the first day or two, it's colostrum, and then by the third day, her milk comes in. So they are finally transitioning over for a couple days to milk, but their digestive system is still, um, what's the right word for lack of a better word? Not fully developed. So when they first start drinking milk, sometimes their bodies don't know how to handle it, and they can have loose stools. So what not that they have loose stools, but I do see it turning a little bit more yellow, which tells me that her milk came in. So what I do is I give them a little bit of probiotic paste, each one maybe twice a day in their mouth, and it just helps their gut flora so that they could get, you know, they could transition better to their mama's milk easier, and hopefully no actual diarrhea. Kind of open their mouth, just give them a little bit. They'll swallow that. All right, baby. Here you go. And I'll just do that with all of them. Now, I don't know if you guys can see, it's just a little pea-sized dab. You know, open their mouth a little bit. Put it inside their mouth. They'll swallow it. And I'll do that with all of them. I know, baby. Hold on. Gently open their mouth. Oh, and then just kind of put it in their mouth. In their mouth. There we go. Like that. Next one. All right, let's see. I know, baby. Next pup. It's a little runny, so it's kind of hard, you know, trying to do this. Oh, come on. Without it dropping first while they open their mouths. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Who's missing? The other female? Watch out, Lena. Let me see. You know, and now I'm pretty much done. I'll make sure that all of them get their probiotic paste. And then this is my morning routine with 13 Frenchies. I got one more pup to go. Just this little one right here. And then I'm done. Come here, baby. Come here. I know. I know. Okay. Okay, can I see? Hold on, hold on. You don't let me see what's going on. Here. Let's lay like this. And I want to make sure she gets a boob. Here. Here. Okay. All right. That's my morning routine. Now I will clean and disinfect the scale and the incubate, you know, the little incubator, and then that's my morning routine. So you guys got to see a little bit behind the scenes of what happens, you know, in real breeder life, of all the cleaning and how much effort it actually takes and how long it takes. Look, it's 12 noon. I started, this was 2 hours. I started this live at 9:55, I believe. It's 12 noon. So it's a 2-hour process. Imagine doing that every 4 hours or so, you know? Oh, but just a little behind the scenes so you actually guys get to see how this actually works and how I keep my puppies clean. But because you know, I'll be honest, I'm anal. I'm anal with my cleaning, but because I am anal with my cleaning and, you know, disinfecting everything and making sure that I don't touch one set of puppies or mom with gloves with the same pair of gloves to the other one, is why my puppies do so well. You know, I keep their areas very clean, you know, as much as possible. The only time that it ever gets dirty is overnight, where I don't interrupt them and let them be and let them rest. But the rest of the day, these whelping boxes stay like this. I disinfect everything so that there's never any cross contamination. I'll take this now and I'm going to go soak it in warm soapy water so that it's ready to go for the next time, so that any milk that stays in here, because I'll show you. I don't know if you guys can see, but that's the milk that I suctioned out of that puppy's nose. If I leave this in here, this all brews bacteria. If I put it back to him, you know, he could potentially get sick. So I'm constantly cleaning these in warm soapy water. The pets get thrown out, this gets disinfected. That's why, thank God, I'm blessed, and my puppies thrive, do well. I don't want to jinx myself, but in 19 years, I can honestly say I've only lost, I don't even want to jinx myself, one puppy, one puppy in 19 years. And I think that says a lot of, the care and that I give them. And, um, to me, it's all about the cleaning process, the attention to detail. But I don't want to jinx myself. I have been very blessed with my litters, thank God. Um, and then, I also attribute it to my healthcare background. I don't know, if I've told you guys in the past. I'm sure you guys seen some of my videos in scrubs. I'm a healthcare worker. I'm a respiratory therapist by trade. I do, during the day, I do specialized bronchoscopies where we do robotic navigational bronchoscopies to diagnose cancer and other diseases, right? So this is where my anal side comes from, because it's so deeply engraved on us in healthcare. Um, the aesthetic side, to be clean, to disinfect everything. And I bring that along into my whelping program. And that's why my puppies thrive so well, you know? But yeah, this is my morning routine with the pups. Now, usually I do this way earlier when I get up at on my days off. This starts at like 6 o'clock in the morning. On my days that I work, I leave my house by 6 o'clock in the morning. So I wake up at 4:30, 4:45 in the morning to make sure that I get all this done and out the house in time for work. Um, that's breeder life, you know? But I wouldn't change it for the world. I absolutely love doing this. If I could do this full time, I would be the happiest person in the world. I love these babies. I love this stage. I wouldn't change it for the world. It's just what I enjoy doing, you know? But yeah, that was my morning routine. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. If you found this educational at all, any of my rants, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Okay. And I will do another live probably in a couple days, or if anything by Saturday. I'm definitely going to do 1 week lives so you could see how these guys grow up and you see the difference. Okay. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll do a little zoom in so you guys can see them, say bye, and then we'll call it a day. I'll wrap that up. These little fat potatoes. And you guys can say bye to these guys. All right. Thanks for watching, guys.